December 1944. An American MP stops a jeep at a frozen crossroads. He asks the driver, "Who won the World Series?" The driver gets it wrong. The man in the American uniform was a German commando. This is the true story of Operation Greif and the wave of mass paranoia that forced GIs to hold their own generals at gunpoint. December 18th, 1944. A snow-choked road near Street Vith, Belgium. The air is so cold it feels like a physical weight. It freezes the moisture in your lungs, turns diesel to sludge, and makes the steel skin of a Sherman tank an agonizing, cold-fusing surface to touch. For the men of the U.S. 7th Armored Division, the world has shrunk to this frozen, pine-shrouded track. They are cold, they are exhausted, and they are, though they don't quite know it yet, surrounded. The great German offense what will come to be known as the Battle of the Bulge is 2 days old, and the front line is no longer a line. It's a series of desperate islands in a sea of grey-clad German panzer grenadiers. Sergeant Hank Rousseau, huddled in the passenger seat of a stalled weapons carrier, rubs his gloved hands together. The wool is damp. Everything is damp. "Movement," whispers the driver, a private named Chen. Rousseau squints. The snow is coming down thick, fat flakes that muffle the world, making the distant, rhythmic thump of artillery sound like it's happening in a dream. But through the swirling white, a shape emerges. It's a jeep. A Willys jeep, with a white star on the hood, coming fast. It doesn't slow down. "Who the hell?" Rousseau mutters, grabbing the M1 leaning against the dash. The jeep splashes through a half-frozen puddle of slush, throwing icy water onto the side of their truck. It skids to a halt 20 yards past them. 2 men are inside, both wearing U.S. helmets and winter greatcoats. The driver, a supposed captain, leans out. "You men, what unit?" His voice is sharp, authoritative. But it's the accent. Not quite Boston, not quite New York. Just off. 7th Armored. "Sir," Rousseau calls back, suspicious. "Where are you headed?" "The line's back that way. Unless you're looking to surrender." The captain laughs. A short, barking laugh. "We're advanced scouts, Sergeant, 5th Corps. We need to know the disposition of the 28th Infantry. Are they holding Malmedy?" Rousseau and Chen exchange a look. Malmedy? That was miles away. And 5th Corps? They were supposed to be north, way north. "Sir, this is 8th Corps' sector," Rousseau says slowly, stepping out of the truck. His hand rests on the .45 on his hip. "And the 28th, sir. The 28th is gone. We're what's left." The passenger, a lieutenant, has been silent. He's looking at a map. He folds it with precise, clean movements. Too precise. He whispers something to the driver in a language Rousseau can't catch. It wasn't English. The driver's smile vanishes. "I see. Thank you, Sergeant. Carry on." He slams the jeep into gear. But as he pulls away, Chen grabs Rousseau's arm. "Sarge, look at his boots." Rousseau looks. Under the American-issue coat, the driver's feet are on the pedals. He's wearing German boots. The unmistakable, high-shafted Marschstiefel of the Wehrmacht. Rousseau yanks the M1 to his shoulder. "Halt," I said, "halt." The reaction is immediate. The passenger in the jeep doesn't reach for a pistol. He brings up an MP-40 Schmeisser from the floorboard and rakes the American truck with a burst of 9mm fire. The sound is completely wrong, a high-pitched, canvas-ripping BRRRT that is terrifyingly German. Chen slumps over the wheel. Rousseau dives into the snow-filled ditch, the hot rounds cracking inches above his head. He lands hard on his shoulder, fumbling with the safety of his rifle. By the time he gets to one knee, a half-magazine of tracers stitching the air where he'd just been, the jeep is already gone. It vanishes back into the snow, a ghost in American clothing. Rousseau crawls over to Chen. It's no use. He looks down the road, his heart hammering against his ribs, not from fear, but from a profound, terrifying confusion. The Germans? They weren't supposed to be in front of him. They were supposed to be behind him, and they were wearing his uniform. The word starts to spread from foxhole to checkpoint, passed by field telephone and terrified runners. The Krauts are in our uniforms. They're everywhere. Trust no one. The physical battle for the Ardennes was hard, but the psychological battle, the one for the GI's sanity, had just begun. Friedenthal Castle, Germany. Early December 1944. While Sergeant Rousseau was fighting for his life in the Ardennes, the architect of his terror was 50 miles behind the German lines, fuming. SS Obersturmbannführer, Lieutenant Colonel Otto Skorzeny, stands before a map, his massive 6'4" frame casting a long shadow over the table. The deep, livid dueling scar on his left cheek a schmiss from his university day spools at his skin as he clenches his jaw. Skorzeny is Hitler's go-to man for the impossible. He is the most dangerous man in Europe, the commando who, just a year earlier, had snatched Benito Mussolini from a mountaintop fortress in a daring glider raid. Now, Hitler has given him his most ambitious, and perhaps most cynical, mission yet. It is codenamed Operation Greif, Operation Griffin. The Führer, in his delusional confidence, believes one massive final punch can split the Allied armies and force a negotiated peace. That punch is the Ardennes offensive. But Skorzeny's mission is the poison-tipped needle that will precede the blow. His orders, straight from Hitler, were to form a new unit, Panzer Brigade 150. This brigade would be disguised entirely as an American combat group. Its objective was to race ahead of the main German panzers and seize at least two of the vital Meuse River bridges at Amai, Huy, or Andenne. If they captured those bridges, they would sever the Allied supply lines, trap the British and Canadian armies in the north, and potentially win the war. To do this, Skorzeny needs two things: American equipment and American-speaking soldiers. He gets neither. The call goes out across the entire Wehrmacht and Waffen-SS. Any soldier who speaks American-style English, report for special duty. The result is a motley crew. He gets a few dozen Volksdeutschethnic Germans who lived in America. He gets a handful of Kriegsmarine sailors who learned sailors' English in foreign ports. But mostly, he gets men who learned English in German schools, men who pronounce shell as shell, but Willys Jeep as Willis Jeep. He puts them in a brutal crash course, forcing them to memorize GI slang from dictionaries, watch captured American films, and learn the most minute details of American military life. Who is Betty Grable? What's the Brooklyn in Dodgers? How do you swear like a Chicago dockworker? The equipment is even worse. Skorzeny demands 200 Sherman tanks. He gets 10. He demands 350 US trucks. He gets 150. Most are captured, battle-damaged, and barely run. His prized commandos will have to wear American uniforms, but Hitler has forbidden them from using captured M1 rifles, fearing the GIs won't discard their own weapons. So they are issued German Sturmgewehr 44 rifles, with orders to find American weapons at the first opportunity. The most infamous deception is the armor. Lacking Shermans, Skorzeny's mechanics take their own Panther tanks' long-barreled, high-velocity Predators and begin welding. They bolt huge, crude steel plates onto the hulls, trying to mimic the boxy silhouette of an American M10 Wolverine tank destroyer. They paint them olive drab and stencil on the iconic white star. They are called Ersatz M10S. They look like a child's drawing of a tank. To a trained eye, they are a joke. But Skorzeny is a pragmatist. The Grand planned the Ersatz panzers capturing the Musaeus a long shot. He knows the real value of his mission is psychological. So, he creates a second, secret unit within Operation Greif. This is Einheit Stielau. These are his real commandos. Small, four-man teams, equipped with the few real captured American jeeps. These are the men who speak the best English. They don't need to look like a tank brigade, they just need to look like a lost MP patrol. These are the men, like the ones Sergeant Rousseau just encountered, who are given a different set of orders. They are not to capture bridges. Their mission is to slip through the chaos of the American retreat and cause paranoia. They are to cut telephone lines. They will reverse road signs, sending American convoys into German ambushes. They will report false enemy positions, spread rumors of German victory, and tell tales of officers deserting their posts. As the offensive begins on December 16th, Skorzeny's main Panzer Brigade, 150, gets hopelessly stuck in the massive traffic jams of the 1st SS Panzer Division. The ersatz tanks are too slow. The grand plan to seize the Meuse bridges is already failing. But the Einheit Stielau teams, they are a resounding success. They slip through the cracks like water. They are the ghosts. And as the American front line disintegrates into a series of panicked, isolated units, the stories begin to fly. A story from a half-frozen sergeant near Street. Vith is just the beginning. The seeds of panic, planted by Skorzeny, are about to find fertile ground. December 20th, 1944. A checkpoint on the Amblève River Bridge at WWII, Belgium. The fog of war has become a fog of profound, chilling paranoia. For the men of the 1st U.S. Army, the enemy is no longer just in front of them. He is, potentially, standing right next to them, sharing a cigarette. At the bridge checkpoint, Private First Class John Miller, 1st Infantry Division, shivers. It's not just from the damp, bone-aching cold. It's from the orders that came down the line less than an hour ago. Challenge everyone. Even officers? Miller had asked his sergeant. The sergeant, a man named Grogan, spat a brown stream of tobacco into the snow. Especially officers. The word is, the Krauts are dressed as colonels. Hell, they're probably dressed as generals. Ask the questions. Get it wrong, you shoot 'em. That's simple. So Miller stands there, M1 Garand at the ready, his mind racing. The rumours are impossible, and yet they're true. A transport column from the 7th Armoured, the Lucky 7th, had been sent down the wrong road 2 days ago by an Empire German MP. They drove straight into the guns of the 1st SS Panzer. A few survivors, bloody and broken, had walked back to tell the tale. The ghosts Rousseau saw at Street Vith are now a full-blown infestation. Every soldier, every driver, every officer is now a suspect. The U.S. Army, in a desperate attempt to filter friend from foe, has instituted a system of mass interrogation, built not on military procedure, but on American culture. A jeep rumbles out of the pre-dawn gloom. Miller steps forward, his heart pounding. Halt! The jeep stops. At the wheel is a U.S. captain. In the passenger seat, a major. Both look exhausted, their faces grey with fatigue. PFC, we've got critical intelligence for HQ. The major snaps, his voice hoarse. Get out of the way. Miller raises his rifle. Sir, I have to ask you the security questions. The major's eyes widen in fury. Are you insane, Private? We are. Sir! Miller shouts, finding a courage he didn't know he had. What's the capital of Illinois? The major stares at him, dumbfounded. What? The capital of Illinois, sir. Answer the question. The captain at the wheel, without looking up, mutters, It's Springfield, you idiot. The major looks at the captain, then back at Miller. Springfield. Now, if you'll... One more, sir, Miller says, his finger on the trigger guard. Who is Betty Grable's husband? The major actually laughs, a dry, cracked sound. Harry James, the trumpet player. Are we done, soldier? Or do you want to ask me who won the World Series? Who did, sir? Miller asks, dead serious. The Cardinals. The major sighs. The Street Louis Cardinals. They beat the Browns. Now, for the love of God, can we pass? Miller lowers his rifle. Yes, sir. Carry on, sir. The jeep drives on. Sergeant Grogan steps out from the shadow of a sandbag emplacement. Good, he grunts. You see? Easy. Sarge, what if they'd said Chicago? Then, Grogan says, patting the .45 on his hip, we'd have 2 less Krauts and 2 more overcoats. This scene is repeating itself across the entire front. At Malmedy, GIs are asked to name the 3 Stooges. Near Bastogne, men are grilled on Babe Ruth's lifetime home run total. The passwords are Brooklyn Dodgers and Jello and Joe DiMaggio. It's a brilliant, if accidental, defense. The German commandos of Einheit Stielau were trained on military insignia, on slang, on tank identification. But they weren't trained on pop culture. They might know the rank of a major general, but they have no idea who the Mick is. That evening, a different jeep approaches Miller's checkpoint. 4 men, dressed as MPs. The driver, a sergeant, answers the first question perfectly. Capital of Illinois? Springfield, he says, a slight accent coloring the word. Grogan steps forward. Pull over. Get out of the jeep. What's the problem, Sergeant? The driver asks, his hands visible. The problem. Grogan says, is that you said Springfield. An American would say Springfield. Get 'em out, boys. The 4 men are pulled from the jeep. They don't resist. When Miller frisks the driver, he feels something hard under the U.S. tunic. He cuts it open. It's a Wehrmacht paybook. In the jeep, under the rear seat, they find plastic explosives, primers, and German-made radio equipment. The 4 Americans are marched to a nearby shed. The paranoia was justified. The ghosts are real, and the panic isn't just afflicting the frontline grunts. The rumors are now spiraling out of control, taking on a life of their own. The word isn't just about saboteurs. The word is that the most dangerous man in Europe, Otto Skorzeny himself, is leading a special team in person, and his target, the rumor mill claims, is not a bridge. It's a man, General Dwight D. Eisenhower. Late December, 1944. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, Chez, Versailles, France. The rumors, born in the frozen ditches of the Ardennes, have travelled faster than any army. They have crossed rivers, passed through division headquarters, and now they have infected the nerve centre of the entire Allied war effort in Europe. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander, is a man of rigid discipline and pragmatic calm. But the reports landing on his desk are becoming increasingly bizarre and deeply unsettling. The Skorzeny scare has reached its zenith. Intelligence, filtered up from the front, is no longer just about flipped road signs. It now speaks of a specific, targeted assassination plot. A suicide squad of Skorzeny's best commandos, dressed as American officers, has supposedly broken through the lines with a single objective: kill Eisenhower. The reports claim they will rendezvous at a specific café in Paris, the Café de la Paix, to coordinate their attack on Chez. Suddenly, the war for Eisenhower shrinks from the vast map of Europe to the few hundred yards of his own headquarters. His security detail, normally a professional but unobtrusive presence, transforms into a suffocating blanket. He is, for all intents and purposes, a prisoner. Ike is forbidden from his usual daily walk from his quarters at the Trianon Palace Hotel to his office. He is now forced to use a series of guarded enclosed corridors. His personal staff car is swapped daily. His driver is changed. He is assigned a double, a man, Lieutenant Colonel Baldwin B. Smith, from Iowa, who happens to bear a passing resemblance to the general. Smith is forced to drive around in Eisenhower's staff car, a visible decoy, a target for a bullet that may or may not be coming. The paranoia is so thick that one afternoon, a young, nervous MP at the Chez gate levels his rifle at an approaching staff car and demands the passenger step out. The passenger, a man wearing the unmistakable 5-star insignia of the General of the Army, is forced to exit the vehicle and prove his identity. It is General Omar Bradley, commander of the 12th Army Group. Bradley, a famously plain-spoken Missourian, is subjected to a barrage of questions. What's the capital of Missouri? Who pitches for the Cardinals? What's your wife's maiden name? A furious but helpless Bradley is forced to answer the humiliating questions before the MP is satisfied. The incident perfectly encapsulates the situation. Skorzeny's psychological warfare has forced the Allied command structure to devour itself. Eisenhower is trapped, and he is furious. He writes in his diary of his imprisonment, fuming that he is the only American in Europe who can't go outside because of a wild-eyed rumor. He complains that he is unable to visit his commanders at the front, to see the situation in the Bulge for himself at the most critical moment of the battle. This is the true genius and the true terror of Operation Greif. Skorzeny's grand plan to capture the Meuse bridges with his ersatz tanks was a complete and utter failure. His Panzer Brigade 150 was ground to a halt, never getting close to its objective. But his other plan, the one carried by a few dozen men in a handful of jeeps, has succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. He hasn't just sowed confusion, he has managed to paralyze the brain of the entire Allied army. While Eisenhower paces his office in Versailles, the hunt for the real ghosts is becoming a grim, deadly affair. On December 21st, near EISENHOWER, far from where Private Miller was grilling an American MP patrol spots, a jeep pulled over on the side of the road. 3 men, in US uniforms, are examining a map. The MPs pull up. "You guys lost?" The driver, a lieutenant, looks up and smiles. "No, just checking our route. We're headed to WWII." But the MP sergeant notices something. The man's accent is flawless. His uniform is perfect. But the way he's holding the map, he's refolding it along the existing German military creases. It's a small thing, an impossibly small detail. "Everybody out," the sergeant says. "Hands on the hood." The 3 men are searched. In their pockets they find German paybooks. In their boots, German-issue sidearms. And in the jeep, a large quantity of explosives. Their names are Gunther Billing, Manfred Pernass, and Wilhelm Schmidt. They are the first of Einheit Stielau to be captured. The questions they are asked are no longer about baseball. They are about espionage, about the Hague Convention, and about the penalty for a soldier caught fighting in the enemy's uniform. December 23rd, 1944. A damp, stone-walled courtyard at Henri-Chapelle, Belgium. For captured commandos Gunther Billing, Manfred Pernass, and Wilhelm Schmidt, the war is over. The American cultural quiz is over. They are no longer GIs, no longer Germans, but something in between, spies. They stand before a U.S. First Army Military Commission. It is not a trial in the traditional sense. It is a grim, rapid proceeding, a formality of war. The evidence is laid out on a wooden table, the U.S. uniforms they were captured in, their Wehrmacht paybooks, the MP-40 submachine guns, and the blocks of German plastic explosive. Under the 1907 Hague Convention, their status is lethally clear. A soldier fighting in his own uniform is a combatant. If captured, he is a prisoner of war. But a soldier who removes his uniform to act as a saboteur, or, more damningly, who dons the enemy's uniform to deceive, forfeits all such protections. He is a spy. The penalty is death. The American provost marshal is blunt. "Do you deny this is your equipment?" Pernass, the ranking officer, speaks. His English is good, but laced with a defiant, formal arrogance. "We are soldiers of the Reich. We are acting under the orders of Obersturmbannführer Skorzeny. We demand to be treated as prisoners of war." The American prosecutor, a major from the Judge Advocate General's Corps, scoffs. "You were captured behind our lines, in our uniforms, with the intent to commit sabotage. You are not soldiers, you are spies." Billing, the youngest, begins to sweat, the colour draining from his face. Schmidt, stoic, stares at the wall. The interrogation confirms the Americans' worst fears. The men openly admit their mission was part of Operation Greif. Their job was to create maximum confusion and panic. They were to sever communications, reverse road signs, and, if possible, destroy fuel dumps. And what of the Eisenhower plot? The prosecutor demands. Pernass smirks. "You will have to ask der Obersturmbannführer that yourself. He is on his way to Paris." It's a lie. A final, spiteful act of psychological warfare from a man who knows he is about to die. But it works. The confession, real or not, is rushed to Kiev, pouring gasoline on the fire of Eisenhower's imprisonment. The commission takes 15 minutes. The verdict is guilty. The sentence is death by firing squad, to be carried out immediately. The 3 men are marched into the courtyard. The air is frigid, the sky a low, oppressive sheet of grey. A U.S. Army chaplain offers them last rites. They refuse. A dozen American MPs form the firing detail. These are not frontline infantry, but men who, until a week ago, were directing traffic and policing bars in liberated towns. Now, they are executioners. The Germans are offered blindfolds. They refuse. They are tied to 3 wooden posts set against a pock-marked brick wall. A US officer pins a small white paper target over each man's heart. Pernasse, staring down the barrels of the M1S, shouts, "Long live the Führer, long live Germany." Schmidt says nothing. Billing, the young one, just trembles. The officer in charge raises his hand. Ready. The bolts of 12 rifles slam home. Aim. The rifles level. Fire. The volley is a single deafening crack that echoes off the stone. The three men are slammed backward, their American-issue greatcoats, now soaked in their own blood, held up only by the ropes. A young MP captain walks forward, draws his M1911 pistol, and administers the coup de grâce to each man. The sound is flat, punctuation marks in the cold, dead air. The US Army does not hide this. They publicize it. They take photographs. They announce the executions to the press. The message is twofold. To the GIs on the front, the threat is real. We caught them. Stay vigilant. To any other of Skorzeny's commandos still in hiding, this is your fate. There is no trial. There is no POW camp. Only a bullet. The executions at Henri-Chapelle mark a turning point. The ghosts are no longer just a rumor. They have a face, a name, and now, a grave. The paranoia on the front line now has a grim, righteous edge. The GIs are no longer just asking, "Who is Mickey Mouse?" as a security question. They are asking it as an accusation, and they know, with absolute certainty, that a wrong answer is a death sentence. December 27th, 1944. A roadblock on the Meuse River near Vith, Belgium. The executions at Henri-Chapelle have not quenched the fear. They have set it in stone. The GIs now have official, lethal permission to believe the impossible. The paranoia has gone viral, and the U.S. Army's own command structure is beginning to tear at the seams. On this frigid road, a nervous private from an engineering battalion stands guard. His name is Leo, and he's from Brooklyn. He has been told, in no uncertain terms, that a .30 caliber round is the only way to be sure. A staff car, its flag covered, crunches to a halt in the slush. Leo steps forward, his M1 held low. In the back seat is a man with a single star on his helmet. He is Brigadier General Bruce C. Clarke, the combat commander of Lucky, 7th Armoured Division, the same division whose men were first terrorized by the ghosts. Clarke has been fighting a desperate, brilliant holding action at Street Vith for 6 days, a stand that has been crucial in blunting the entire German offensive. He is exhausted, his eyes burning with lack of sleep, and he is on his way to a vital corps-level meeting. "On your way, General," Leo says, his voice cracking. "But I gotta ask the questions." Clarke sighs. "Go ahead, soldier. What's the capital of Massachusetts?" Clarke, a West Point graduate from New York, thinks. "Boston." "Correct, sir." "Now, what's the capital of Illinois?" The general hesitates. His mind is on tank dispositions, casualty reports, and the precise location of the 2nd SS Panzer Division. Illinois. It's Chicago, of course. The change is instant. The click-clack of the M1's safety being thumbed off is the loudest sound in the world. "Get out of the car." "Kraut." General Clarke stares. "Soldier, I am Brigadier General Bruce C. Clarke, U.S. Army. Put that weapon down." "I said get out," Leo screams, his knuckles white on the rifle stock. "Hands on your head." A major in the front seat tries to intervene. "Son, you are making a terrible—" "You shut up too, both of you, out." For the next 5 hours, Brigadier General Bruce C. Clarke is held prisoner at a muddy crossroads by one of his own men. He is forced to stand in the snow, hands raised, while the engineer private calls his own CO, who calls his battalion CO, who calls a regimental CO, who is too terrified to make a decision. The rumor of the Eisenhower plot is so potent that no one is willing to vouch for a man, star or no star, who thinks Chicago is the capital of Illinois. Clarke, the hero of Street Vith, is treated like a captured spy. His fury is ice cold. He is finally, humiliatingly, released when an MP colonel who knows him personally, is driven to the checkpoint to identify him. He said Chicago. The private explains, still shaking but unrepentant. I did what I was supposed to. General Clarke just nods, gets in his car, and drives away. The incident perfectly illustrates the success of Operation Greif. It has inverted the US Army. Privates are now arresting generals. While Clarke is being humiliated, the hunt for the real commandos continues. It's a witch hunt in the truest sense. On December 27th, another Einheit Stielau team is caught near Malmedy. They are strip-searched on the road. This time, the GIs find what they're looking for. One man's dog tags are stamped SS. This group, 7 men, led by Officer Cadet Günther Schiltz, is also sent to a military commission in Huy. The trials are faster now, the verdict a foregone conclusion. The German offensive, meanwhile, is dying. The panzers have run out of fuel. The skies have cleared, and Allied P-47 Thunderbolts are ripping the German columns to shreds. Skorzeny's grand plan is a catastrophic failure. His ersatz M10 tanks are burning wrecks, easily identified by US gunners. His Panzer Brigade 150 has been decimated. Operation Greif is over. The German tide is receding. But the ghosts they left behind, the ones now sitting in cold Belgian cells, are about to pay the final price. Early January 1945. The Belgian towns of Huy and Henri-Chapelle. The Battle of the Bulge is not yet over, but the tide has turned. The German salient is being pinched off. The panzers that were once at the gates of the Meuse are now in a full, desperate retreat, pounded from the air and hounded by resurgent American divisions. The panic has subsided, replaced by the grim, cold business of winning the battle. And part of that business is finishing what was started in the courtyard at Henri-Chapelle. For the remaining captured commandos of Einheit Stielau, there is no hope. The discovery of the Malmedy massacre, where SS troops machine-gunned over 80 American prisoners of war, has erased any trace of leniency. The GIs are enraged. The sight of a German in an American uniform is no longer just a spooky anomaly. It's a profound, mortal insult, and it is now linked to the worst war crime on the Western Front. The military commissions at Huy are grim, efficient, and frequent. On December 30th, Günther Schiltz and the 6 men of his team are tried. Their defense is the same. We are soldiers acting under orders. The prosecution is the same. You are spies. The verdict is the same. On December 31st, New Year's Eve, they are shot by a firing squad. On January 13th, 1945, another 2-man team is captured. They are tried and, on the same day, executed. In total, 18 of Otto Skorzeny's ghosts will be captured, tried, and executed by firing squads. They are buried in the criminal section of the Henri-Chapelle American Cemetery, their graves marked by simple black crosses. The architect of their fate, SS Obersturmbannführer Otto Skorzeny, survives. His main unit, Panzer Brigade 150, is shattered in the conventional fight, its ersatz M10 tanks proving to be nothing more than thinly disguised coffins for their crews. Skorzeny himself is wounded by shrapnel, but he will escape the Ardennes, his reputation as the most dangerous man in Europe now cemented, not by his failed military operation, but by the sheer, blinding terror his psychological one had created. When the final accounting of Operation Greif is done, the numbers are almost comical. Of the 150 men assigned to the Einheit Stielau commando teams, only 9 jeeps, a total of around 40 men, ever made it across the lines. Their material achievements were almost zero. They cut a few telephone lines that were quickly repaired. They reversed a few road signs, which were quickly fixed. They failed to seize a single bridge, destroy a single fuel dump, or assassinate a single high-value target. Militarily, Operation Greif was a complete and utter failure. But psychologically, it was, perhaps, the single most successful German operation of the entire campaign. For the cost of 40 men and 9 jeeps, Otto Skorzeny had forced the entire US Army to a standstill, turning every checkpoint into a high-stakes trivia game. He had caused a brigadier general to be arrested by a private, paralyzing the command structure. He had imprisoned the supreme Allied commander, Dwight D. Eisenhower, in his own headquarters at the most critical moment of the battle, severing the brain of the Allied war machine from its body. And he had sown a paranoia so deep that American soldiers, for a time, trusted no one, not even each other. As the last shots of the Bulge echo away and the GIs push forward into Germany, the roadblocks on the Meuse are finally dismantled. The passwords are no longer Mickey Mouse or Springfield. The questions stop. The men of the 7th Armoured, the 1st Infantry, and the Engineer battalions can finally look at a new face in an American uniform and not see a ghost. But the story lives on. It becomes a legend of the war, a dark, bizarre joke told in VFW halls for the next 50 years. It is the story of that one winter when the GIs, fighting for their lives in the snow, couldn't believe their eyes. Because the face of the enemy, the one staring back at them from a Willys Jeep, looked exactly like their own.